Welcome to the High Rise Podcast, presented by Headset, the leading data and analytics company for the cannabis industry.
Welcome back to the High Rise, a laid-back, data-back conversation where we talk all things cannabis, whether that's U.S. MSOs, Canadian LPs, brands, and products, market analysis through the lens of data. I am joined, as always, by Emily Paxhia of Poseidon.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the High Rise.
And I am Cy Scott with Headset. Thanks again for joining us this week. We're actually recording this. It's another poolside episode.
That it is, and we're very good at poolside podcasting at this point.
Yeah, I maybe it should be an exclusively poolside podcast going forward. Basically,
it should. I'm impressed we both have voices, though, after the late night karaoke from the first night of Hall of Flowers.
I am as well, and I was a little worried, but post-production, we can fix anything, I suppose. But this is a great view. We're here in Palm Springs for Hall of Flowers. Just got back from the conference hall, so we'll talk a bit about that. But we're sitting here staring out the mountain, blue skies. I think it's 75 degrees, just perfect.
Perfect day.
So we are also under right near the runway here, so you may hear some airplanes flying over. But we wanted to dive in, I guess. Let's talk about the conference. Let's just start there. So, we were in Santa Rosa. I guess when was that? That was over the summer?
No, Santa Rosa is, I think, September.
September?
Yeah.
Gosh, feels like forever ago.
Yeah.
And this
October,
is
even. Yeah.
Yeah, and the first Hall of Flowers in Palm Springs, right?
Correct. They were trying to do this event in I think it was April of 2020, and obviously the pandemic, this was one of the casualties of that, is that this event didn't happen. But what's exciting is, we've talked about on the podcast before that Northern California and Southern California are pretty different places when you kind of look at everything from demographics to the way the cities are laid out. And
that's a big state.
It's a huge, fifth largest economy in the world. And so I think it's smart that Hall of Flowers has this northern focused one and the southern focused one. And I was really excited to come here today because I wanted to learn more about what's going on from both the retail aspect and also the brand aspect in Southern California.
Yeah. And it was a great venue, quite different than Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa is at a fairground type facility for Hall of Flowers, and so different halls and a lot of common space. But this was like a converted, what is it? Like not really a strip mall, but like an old grocery store that is no longer a grocery store. And they converted the parking lot with AstroTurf, and they had a lot of like food trucks and other brands that were out there. So you got some of that same indoor-outdoor vibe that you get in Santa Rosa, and then inside just one big hall of brands, which is kind of nice because in Santa Rosa you have to go between different halls to see everybody, and this was a good way to just get everyone under one roof.
Yeah, it felt a little bit more concentrated, which was great. And the other thing is, and I know we talked about this in regards to Santa Rosa one, is that the energy at the show is really amazing. We've been on the podcast witnessing the stock market around cannabis have a really difficult bear cycle, and it feels really difficult. And then there's been that kind of political overhang that's been kind of driving everyone a little bit crazy. But coming to this, and also what we've talked about with California and what it's been going through has been a difficult time. But getting into that hall, seeing the people, this is a B2B show, seeing the energy and feeling the energy, it was really exciting and really encouraging. And it reminded me, it's a good reminder of why we're all doing this, because it's come so far. And I couldn't believe some of the fine brands that I was seeing, the really refined vision around the brands that are being built. And also there was this, we'll talk about it in a minute, but there was this really interesting intersection of fashion and design and cannabis, which is exciting too. So.
Yeah, it certainly seems like that's a more and more of an emerging trend. The conference, for those that haven't been, it's basically brands, so kind of the CPG brands of cannabis, the kind of brands you'd see on store shelves at retailers are exhibiting, and they're to talk and basically find retail distribution for their products. So it's pretty unique in that sense that it's very focused on that. And you can actually purchase samples on premises, which is pretty cool and quite different than something like MJ Biz in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it is nice because you can try it out and see what's going on. And the idea today is the day for retailers and buyers, right? And then tomorrow it's more open to anybody who wants to attend.
Right. Makes sense. So let's talk a bit about some of the highlights. I mean, there was so much in there and so much to cover. I think right out of the gate, a company that we do talk about quite a bit, publicly traded here in California, is the parent company. They're right near the entrance there, and highlighting a lot of their well-known brands like Jay-Z's Monogram and so on. But it was pretty interesting to see Monogram here, because if you remember, they did that photo shoot based here in Palm Springs where they were recreating, I believe it was Slim Aaron's iconic 1960s photo shoot for today's world at the Frank Sinatra house. So it's like right where they did that photo shoot, they're exhibiting here.
Yeah, I mean, talk about high style and super designy and fashion forward. That photo shoot is beautiful. I would encourage everyone to check it out online. It's a pretty neat concept that they're playing with there. And I mean, Jay-Z is nothing if not a leader in style and very focused on fashion, but I thought that was really a cool way to play with it. And I didn't know if they did that in anticipation of Hall of Flowers or if they just had picked up on this really cool, iconic shoot and had just been playing with it because it worked with the brand. But it all worked really well, so I was into it. I also I talked with the woman working at the booth about the Monogram, the like $50 joint. That's the hand-rolled product.
Oh, wow.
And she was showing it to me. She's like, the way we talk about it is it's almost like rolling a Cuban cigar, doing it hand-rolled. And she was showing it to me, and what I thought, I mean, I'm not the customer for a $50 joint, but there certainly are people who are buying $50 joints. And this it has like little nugs in it, like little buds, which is cool. So it's not like super ground up. It's like kind of loosely broken down. So it's more almost like a whole flower in this really interesting hand rolled product. So
very cool.
Yeah. So I was curious. She said it burns really well and that it was really neat, and it comes in a pretty cool packaging. I think they're going to try to lift it up even higher and go into some metals for the tube that it comes in, or the case. But I guess because of COVID, there had been supply chain issues, which we've heard all around the industry. So they'll be working towards that. But I thought it was pretty high concept stuff, and interesting to see that in the portfolio.
Yeah, and they had some other stuff. I mean, they obviously had their like Fun Uncle brands, their Caliva brand products. But I did see a new one, or new to me. It was the Marayo, I believe.
Marayo, yeah.
Marayo, which is Santana's brand. So that's, I guess, their second celebrity endorsement. Is that right? Because Jay-Z was obviously connected and through Monogram. And so now with Santana, this is the next one.
That's exactly right. And it has it looks more like Santana if anyone's ever looked at or seen that, cover art for his albums or their albums. And the other thing is interesting is, I live near Napa Valley. And so there's this famous champagne up there called Mum, and Carlos Santana had a Mum champagne line too, and it's kind of, I could see some of the same design elements from the label on that bottle to this product line too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if this is. I know the celebrity brands were a thing years ago, kind of coming around like Willie's Reserve and stuff, and interesting to see it kind of coming back around. I don't have any data with me, but it'd be fun to kind of look and see how they perform versus just brands that aren't attached to a well-known name.
Yeah, and it was cool because and another one we can jump to is Forefront that we saw there.
Sure,
that's another public company and an MSO, and they have just entered into California with their brands. So just seeing, you hear the CEOs talking about it on the earnings calls about how they're focusing in on brands, but to be able to see it showcased is pretty impressive because they're really working to create these defined different lines that are targeting different consumer profiles and also different quote-unquote need states is a term we use in consumer space, where you're kind of like trying to address like different aspects of people's lives that they might be interested in participating with cannabis. So that really struck me. And Forefront said that we got to try some of their candies. They were uninfused, and they said they had brought in this famous Russian candy maker to do their lines.
Oh, wow.
And they had, what were those ones? They were like high bursts.
Yeah, high
supposed
burst,
to be like
right.
Starburst.
Mm-hmm.
That was yummy.
I didn't get to try it, but I saw them there. Yeah, and Forefront, I think they said they literally were just shipping to retailers this week. And they've been talking about it a long time. I know they talked about their production facility that they were spinning up. I also think that the brands that they brought are primarily edible. It seemed like maybe a vape, but no flower, right?
There was no flower. They did have the terp sticks, which...
Okay, so is that the vape? I
saw?
Oh,
those were pre-rolls that are infused with a proprietary method, and because this is coming up a lot, as you know from your data, the infused joint infused pre-roll category is exploding.
Right.
People love it. And that one, they're using different terpenes, both cannabinoid-based or cannabis-based and other sources-based. And so they're doing infusion of terpenes into those to kind of give a different effects-based approach to it. So
right.
That's interesting.
Some other cool stuff, just form factors.
Mm-hmm.
It's always interesting to see what's new. And I don't know, so many years into it, it's like still surprises me when you see a little bit of innovation. One company, is it Hervé?
Hervé.
Hervé.
Like Hermes, I think. Hervé.
Gotcha. Are doing like a sublingual hard candy. But what was really interesting in it was like the way the packaging was set up. It was like a childproof package, kind of like a lipstick almost, right?
Yeah, it definitely looked like a lipstick, and it has different segments, so you could like inch it up and then break off a 5 milligram bite.
Right, like lipstick meets like a Pez dispenser.
Yes, that's what I called it. I don't think he liked that I said it
no,
was a Pez dispenser, but I like. I mean, who doesn't love Pez? And I had also just seen the Seinfeld where Jerry puts the Pez dispenser on Elaine's leg and she like laughs in the middle of a performance. Anyway, so I had Pez on the brain, but he did laugh. I was like, no, it's very high design. It's very cool, and I think it's cool, especially for a female. Like I have lipstick in my bag, and maybe I could have a Hervé little candy sublingual dispenser in there too.
Yeah, very cool. I was trying to see if I could pick up a sample, but they're not ready yet. I think they said January, and it sounds like the California market, but just kind of cool to see some innovative packaging, innovative formats. There's still a lot yet. I guess it's nice to be surprised.
Yeah, those macaroons looked very beautiful too. That's like very fancy little setup there. So
totally.
That's cool.
They also, nearby was the PBR booth. It seems like they've got a lot of flavors now, and it's always interesting to see these kind of mainstream brands cross over.
Yeah.
I didn't see it here. It might have been here. I just didn't notice it, but I saw the Fireball whiskey. I was at Planet 13 in Orange County, and
oh, wow.
they have it, and they make a gummy, which is...
Oh. I'm like hungover just thinking about it.
Yeah, maybe I'm not the demographic either for it, but just
cool.
Cool to see, and it's kind of cool to see PBR, and it seems like they're really... investing quite a bit, not like a one-off. When it first came out, I wasn't sure. Are they going to stick around, or are they just kind of playing in this space? And kind of cool to see.
I thought it was really cool. I mean, it felt very on brand for PBR, actually, too, the way they're approaching it. They're doing more of the seltzer approach, and it's only 25 calories in a can, 10 milligrams in a can, so it's pretty approachable. And she told me, too, that you can reseal it.
Oh, that's nice.
Because, I can't drink 10 milligrams. I'll be partying too hard, but I can do 2.5 to 5, and so that was cool. I thought that was neat. I did know it did feel too like more like a beer company vibe, because they had those like cute chicks sitting at the bar with the like short shorts on, and I was like, are they installed at this bar? But that felt like very on brand.
Right.
It was cute. They were cute. I was like, this is fun. Feels right. I mean, I was always cranky about the quote unquote booth babes when I first got into the industry, and it was like, get the eye candy out there, I guess, but that doesn't exist as much anymore. But this was cute. It all worked. It was fun. So
it definitely has calmed down. I remember like way back Leafly days, 2010, 2011, and it was like medical, and there's all these like nurses. It was the word. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was so bad, and like that's long gone. You still have some of that booth babe stuff, but it's definitely toned down.
It's toned down.
Yeah, it's like a maturing industry, and it feels nice, And I think that's shown by some of the fashion stuff, and you wanted to call that out. I mean, it was pretty impressive, the number of well-designed brands, but like literally like fashion brands as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we walked by, and I immediately saw something. I was like, oh, it's so pretty. And it was Edie Parker, who is they have an accessories brand outside of cannabis for like handbags and other little accessories that are really cool and kind of different. And she has gotten into the space, and so they're doing accessories, and they also have a cannabis line called Weedy Parker. Very cool. And like Ascend Wellness Holdings, I think we've mentioned this, that they have a partnership with them in Illinois and in Massachusetts, so they're launching in the other markets that they're in. But it's pretty cool to see this coming together in this interesting way. And I was speaking with the women who work there, and they're from fashion, so it was cool.
Yeah, it's neat. And even like more kind of female forward brands were exhibiting, and you're kind of seeing a nice mix. There's the cannabis culture, and I it's like I think it still permeates through, but you're seeing so many people like Hervé like doing some high end stuff, and like the Edie Parker stuff that just kind of stands out, and I think eventually that won't be so surprising, right? It'll just look more like that.
Exactly. And it's nice too to have these things, like you have your kind of like Hervé, a good example, like that lipstick thing is a cool gift. There's
Right.
some real gifting opportunities now, whereas before, I mean, it was nice to receive a jar full of good flour. I mean, who doesn't want that? But, there wasn't, this is just taking it to the next level. So it's pretty cool to see that. And I think for women, and women are a fast growing segment of this industry, and having that way to kind of bring other women to the table through these products is cool. So I'm here for it.
Yeah. So great event. Anything else you wanted to touch on from Hall of Flowers?
Yeah, we saw a lot of, I would say just things in general, saw a lot of gummies, saw a lot of beverage, saw a lot of, a couple of groups who are talking about their nano emulsion technology for fast and repeatable and consistent onset, especially for beverage or for edibles. And so I think that space is going to continue to grow and get maybe potentially more, well, it will get more competitive, but it'll be interesting to understand. It's always been kind of the Intel chip inside the product is however they're nano emulsifying the cannabinoids. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of breaks away on that. So far it's there've been a couple of them, but there are definitely more coming to the table.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a great event, and if you haven't been, I encourage you to try and get to the next one. Probably Santa Rosa, I guess, would be the next one.
Santa Rosa is the next one, and I think for anybody who thinks that the California market's lost and gone forever because of the challenges, you just have to go to that show and say. And we talk a lot about this, how there's a lot of brand leadership in this state. We're excited for New York, but this is where brands really are kind of born and then kind of trickle into, or even if it's not the brand, it's the concept around some of these brands that'll trickle into the MSOs back east. But it was definitely cool to see, and it's California cannabis at its finest.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about numbers and the quantitative side of the business, and it's really neat to see the qualitative, see these brands that we're talking about all the time and what makes them tick in person, and hear from the brand ambassadors or the people involved in setting them up. So great event, and looking forward to the next one.
Same.
So let's move on from Hall of Flowers and touch on some news this week and even today. Let's start in Canada, and maybe unsurprising. The headline today is that Tilray is buying a distillery.
It's, the Breckenridge Distillery. It is the world's highest distillery, according to their website.
I wonder, if that's always been their tagline, or if they set that up when they were talking to Tilray, or maybe post or getting ready. I'm not familiar with the distillery myself, but it does seem like that's in the pitch deck when whatever analyst brought that to Tilray. We should acquire this. It's the highest. Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Mike was like, that was the diligence to see that tagline. That's it.
That's
Bye.
right. That's right. Yeah, done.
Done.
Well, it's interesting because they made that investment in Sweetwater Brewery out of, I believe, Atlanta, Georgia. And, now this is a distillery, and it's the same kind of story. They're positioning it to get ready for U.S. legalization, and then they'll use this infrastructure to tackle maybe the beverage market. Is kind of the takeaway. But I feel like if we don't see federal legalization soon, they're just going to end up AB InBev or something, like a Diageo, right? They're just going to be an alcohol company at this point.
It's a very literal take on how to approach beverage. We are going to buy beverage companies, okay? So I don't know. I think everyone does things differently. It's what makes the world go round. But it is a little interesting considering some of the trends we're seeing, especially when you look at the younger generations, the millennials and Gen Z. They are consuming more cannabis, drinking less. And so I know ostensibly now they're going to focus on launching cannabis beverages, leveraging that platform, but I don't know why you couldn't just buy a Pepsi bottling facility. It doesn't, I don't know. But it'll be interesting. I mean, I like distilleries. I go visit them.
Oh yeah, super fun.
And maybe this is just another Another way to think about it is to drive. I have no idea what the revenue profile is because I didn't get to dig into it, but maybe they're like, okay, let's add some revenue to the machine.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's got to be something like that. But it's just kind of interesting. We'll see if they do more. It is that U.S. play that we've talked about, where you can get into the alcohol space, and then hopefully that translates at one point. The other play is getting into CBD, and I think that's probably been harder. And yeah, maybe this is just good. I do believe it goes towards their EBITDA.
Is that what it said?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Right. So, probably get more out of that than maybe a CBD type play right now. But it's kind of interesting, kind of funny that this is, a beer and a distillery. Winery is certainly next, right?
Yeah.
Gotta have one of each.
Gotta have one of everything. That's a good point about the EBITDA too, because the margins on distilling alcohol are pretty high, I think, and so that's helpful. I guess, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, now back to California, where we happen to be sitting today. Well, not literally where this is happening, but San Francisco suspends the city business tax through the end of next year. Tax that San Francisco charges 1 to 5%. I'm not sure how that breaks down. Is it 1 to 5 was the number I found, and I don't know what the difference is, if it's always 5 or if it's the type of product or what have you. But this 1 to 5% tax is now no longer going to be collected by San Francisco. And really the goal that they've stated is to give the legal market a bigger opportunity to combat the illicit market. And this is something that we talk about all the time, access and just the illicit market, particularly in California, and the challenges. So it's great to see, San Francisco do this. I wanted to chat about it because, should the entire state of California consider something like this to get this industry moving forward? I know it's been a bit slow, and I know with more and more investment, they're putting actually hard dollars towards this industry to accelerate the licenses, getting people these permanent licenses, getting these stores opened up, and it just hasn't. I guess it's not as easy as it sounds, and it's taking a lot longer. And so maybe the state should consider trying this for a whole year, see what happens.
Yeah. I definitely think the state should consider this, just considering what the industry has gone through in California, the fact that it's the state infrastructure that slowed it down. It's not the operator's fault that they can't get this all done. So
right.
I think anything we can do to encourage people to stay in the legal market. The way I think about it is, okay, so you don't get that extra percentage or two of collected tax if you don't raise the taxes. But guess what? If you have more legal operators, more dollars transacted, you'll see more dollars because a percentage of more is better. So,
exactly.
So let's get more dollars flowing through the entire legal market. And I think it would be ideal and helpful to these operators to really keep going. So I was proud. San Francisco has been going through a tough time, and I was proud that they took this step, and I was also proud that they made that statement associated with it, because it's truly acknowledging what taxes can do in terms of just moving people into the illegal market. So I think it's pretty incredible. And from what I understand, there are other local jurisdictions that are taking up the mantle on this as well.
Oh,
so
that's good.
Yeah, I'm hearing things about Sonoma, Santa Barbara. So I think hopefully if the state doesn't get behind it, each jurisdiction will start to step up, and that'll be great. So hopefully that.
I mean, the tax revenue is certainly important. It's a big reason why, we're regulating, and those taxes can be, put to good use, but it's maybe get this industry's feet under itself and then start taxing the hell out of it instead of starting with taxing the hell out of it and making it a bit tougher for everybody. Do you think in 2023, when the taxes come back, everything will be okay? Or do you think there'll be like a push back towards the illicit market? Or do you think a year is enough time in a place like San Francisco for like brands to get built and like people's purchasing behaviors to change? Or do you think it'll be like, a year goes by fast, and hopefully it does have an impact. But,
maybe they delay it again. But I think a year is a start, and so we'll take it at this point. And it is a good question. I do hope this market of California can get its feet under it by 2023. It's due. It's an amazing market, and it's due to have it come back around. So it will go. These years go so quickly. I can't believe it's December, and we're about to start wrapping this whole thing up. But I think it'll go quickly, but hopefully, and maybe it'll give the regulators an opportunity to assess if this does help the legal market.
Good point. Get some data on that.
Yeah. There's tons of tax data that exists out there. Tax increases have been used to deter consumers, including like tobacco.
Right.
So, I mean, if it's used to deter people when you want to, think about if you're not even intending to, what it can do. It can still deter people. So,
Totally.
yeah.
So on the subject of taxation, Flow Cannabis made some headlines. I think it was a Medium blog post making a recommendation to their board that they refrain from paying cultivation tax after July 1st, 2022. It's almost like, I guess, quite a statement. You know, this is an interesting one. I feel like not paying your taxes never ends well for people. And just in the history of I guess the country. I just saw, driving out here, we saw a billboard for a new movie with Wesley Snipes.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe he went to prison for tax evasion.
Tax evasion.
Yeah, way back, right? And is this just like a statement and just like, hey, let's really like raise some awareness here and, I'm going to make a point? Or do you think they're really going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely trying to raise awareness and they're throwing the gauntlet down, but I do think it's like betting against the house. Like the house always wins. And if you don't pay your taxes, they'll come to collect at some point.
For sure.
And they know where to find you and they'll come and get you. But and then like forget it, you're audited for the rest of your life, which is a certain experience that not many people would like to endure. So I think it's a risky move. I think it is a statement. So like maybe, make the statement first and then see if the action follows. But they were calling it like a tea party kind of thing, and I was like picturing people like dumping bud into the bay in San Francisco. I mean, like, we're dumping. But I mean, maybe you could get rid of your like moldy or product that doesn't pass the
testing. Low THC stuff that's not moving.
Get the whales high. But, I don't know. So it's a statement and it's a bold one. And maybe it is going to wake up the regulators and they'll really think about it. But, Mike from our team is on the board of the CCIA. And one of the things that I think we all need to consider is we're all going into an election year here on many different levels.
Right.
And our governor should really start thinking about that. That's my thought.
Yeah, no, for sure they should. I mean, just with these kind of both of these points, right? San Francisco looking at taxation, companies like Flow Cannabis talking about this. Mike also made the point, we were discussing it a bit earlier today. He made the point of this. It's kind of I don't know, it's a weird one because you're taking tax dollars from the consumer. You're just kind of sitting on them and not like translating that back. Which is it's a weird thing, right? As the consumer of the products, if they decide not to pay taxes, you're still paying taxes if you're buying that stuff. It's a strange one, but I understand, where they're coming from. I understand the frustrations, but probably different ways to go about it in the end.
Yeah, good points all the way around.
Well, I think that'll do it for us today. I think next week, actually, I'll be in the San Francisco area for another conference, Cannabis.
Yes.
So maybe we can do another live in-person podcast. These are all so great, although I don't think the weather's going to be as nice as this for some poolside podcasting. But as always, thank you so much for listening. Be sure to rate and review us in your favorite podcast directory, and we'll see you next week.
Tell your friends.
Thanks for listening to the High Rise Podcast, presented by Headset. For more information on Headset, visit headset.io.